Dad, have you ever wondered why life feels so unfair sometimes, like, no matter how hard I try, things just don't seem to go my way? It's like sitting down with a hot cup of coffee expecting warmth and comfort, but then finding it's a little too bitter, a little too hot. But you know what? Maybe that's life. And today, over these cups of coffee, I want to talk to you about why that bitterness might just be okay, and how we can learn to embrace it together. Life doesn't always give us what we expect, Dad. Sometimes it feels like I've been cheated, tricked into believing that if I follow all the rules, things will turn out perfectly. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, challenging me when I least expect it. It's like when I expect a sweet sip of my coffee, only to realize I forgot to add the sugar. It's disappointing, sure, but it doesn't mean the whole cup is ruined. There's still warmth in it, still something to savor. Today, I want to talk to you about how we can find the sweetness in life, even when it seems unfair or uncertain. I want to share some thoughts with you, thoughts about life, about us, and about how we navigate this unpredictable world together. Do you remember when I told you about the first book I wrote? I poured everything I had into it, late nights, early mornings, with cups of coffee by my side, fueling my thoughts and keeping me awake. I had dreams of it becoming a bestseller, of people across the world reading my words and finding something meaningful in them. But when it was finally out there, it didn't get the response I had hoped for. The world didn't notice. It was like my effort had disappeared into thin air. At first it felt unfair. I thought, I worked so hard, why didn't it pay off? But then I realized something. Just because my book didn't hit the bestseller list doesn't mean it wasn't a success. The real success was in the writing, in the courage it took to put myself out there. Life doesn't always reward us the way we expect, but it does reward us. It's like coffee. Sometimes it's too strong, sometimes too weak. But the act of making it, of savoring it, that's where the real value lies. You see, Dad, I can write my own story, even if the world isn't reading it the way I want them to. It's not about the applause, it's about the boldness of putting pen to paper, of living life with purpose no matter the outcome. You've lived in both nice places and on the streets, and you've shared those stories with me. At first I thought the streets were just about hardship, but now I see they taught you more than any comfortable home ever could. It's like brewing coffee. Instant coffee might be convenient, but it's the slow brew, the one you take time with, that really gives you something worth savoring. On the streets, you learn to appreciate the little things: a warm place to sleep, a meal shared with someone, the kindness of strangers. Life's unfairness, its harshness, teaches us resilience. It's easy to feel like life is against us when we're struggling, but those struggles are what make the good times so sweet. It's the contrast that gives life its flavor, just like coffee. Without the bitterness, the sweetness wouldn't mean as much. So when I face tough times, when life seems unfair, I remember this. It's all part of the brew. The hardships, the challenges, they're what make me appreciate the good times. They're what make the good moments stand out, just like the perfect cup of coffee after a long day. Dad, I've made mistakes in my life, especially when it comes to honesty. There were times when I thought I could get by with cutting corners, with bending the truth just a little. But life has a way of catching up with you, just like how no matter how much sugar you add, you can't completely hide the taste of bad coffee. I learned the hard way that honesty is the foundation of everything meaningful in life. Without it, relationships crumble, trust disappears, and I'm left with nothing but the bitter aftertaste of regret. It's not easy to be honest, especially when the truth is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Just like a good cup of coffee needs the right ingredients, life needs honesty to be fulfilling. When I'm honest, truly honest, life rewards me in ways I might not expect. People start to trust me, opportunities come my way, and I build something real. It's like finally brewing that perfect cup of coffee. Everything comes together just right, and the result is something I can savor. So I remind myself, always choose honesty. It might be harder in the moment, but in the long run, it's what will give life the richness and depth that I'm looking for. Life is unpredictable, Dad. You never know what's going to happen next. It's like trying a new coffee blend. You don't know if you'll like it until you take that first sip. And sometimes you'll love it, and sometimes you won't. But the important thing is to keep trying, to keep embracing the uncertainty. There was a time when I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I was scared, unsure of what my next step should be. But then I realized something. Life's uncertainty is what makes it exciting. It's what keeps us on our toes, keeps us moving forward. If everything was predictable, where would the fun be? So I started to embrace the uncertainty, to see it as an adventure. It's like when I try a new coffee shop, I never know what I'm going to get, but that's part of the thrill. Life is the same way. Embrace it, Dad. Don't be afraid of the unknown. It's where the best stories are made. And I remind myself every time I face something uncertain, I have a choice. I can either let it scare me or I can let it excite me. I choose excitement. I choose to see life as a grand adventure. Just like trying a new coffee blend, I never know. I might discover something amazing. And speaking of discovering something new, you know how we've been talking about making our morning coffee a little more exciting? There's something I've been adding to mine lately that's really given me a boost. Something that makes the coffee not just a drink, but an experience. It's nothing fancy, just a little something that turns a regular cup into something special. If you're curious, you can check out the link below. It's made my mornings brighter, and who knows, it might just do the same for you. Life is full of choices, Dad. Some are easy, like deciding how you like your coffee, black with sugar or maybe a splash of cream. Others are harder, like choosing the kind of person you want to be, the kind of life you want to live. But here's the thing, every choice I make shapes my future. When I was younger, I didn't always make the best choices. I thought I could get away with cutting corners, with being less than honest. But life doesn't work that way. It's like trying to brew coffee with cold water. It just doesn't turn out right. Eventually, I had to face the consequences of my choices. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The good news is, it's never too late to start making better choices. It's like switching to a better coffee bean. Once you do, you never want to go back. I'm starting to choose honesty, integrity, and hard work. These are the things that will build a life I can be proud of. A life that's rich and full, like a perfectly brewed cup of coffee. Dad, life isn't fair, and it's full of uncertainties. But that's what makes it beautiful. It's like coffee. Sometimes it's bitter, sometimes it's sweet, but it's always worth savoring. I'm learning to embrace the unfairness, the unpredictability. They're what make the good moments so much sweeter. I'll remember the stories you've shared with me today. They're not just about you, they're about me too. I have the power to turn my life into something extraordinary. It won't be easy, and it won't always be fair, but it will be worth it. And whenever I need a reminder, I'll just sit down with a cup of coffee and think about these moments we've shared. Life, like coffee, is best enjoyed with someone you love. And before I forget, if you want to make your mornings a little brighter, don't miss out on the special something I mentioned earlier. It's a small change, but it's made a big difference for me. You can find out more by clicking the link below. Trust me, it's worth it. Now let's finish our coffee and get ready for whatever life throws our way next. Because no matter what happens, as long as we face it together, I know we'll be just fine. So here's to life with all its bitterness and sweetness. Let's embrace it fully, today and always.